Captain stood on the bridge of her scout ship, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The ship called Whisper of Stars was very quiet as it moved through empty space. No one could see them. Their special hiding technology made them almost invisible to any sensors that might be looking for them. Was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Her people were called and they were known across the galaxy for being excellent spies and scouts. She had been doing this job for over 20 years, and this mission felt different from all the others. "Captain, we are still getting those strange readings from the 442 system," said her science officer. He was sitting at his workstation, looking at numbers and charts on his screen. His green eyes showed worry as he studied the data. "What kind of readings?" asked, walking over to look at his screen. The numbers meant nothing to her, but she trusted completely. He was the science officer she had ever worked with. "The gravity sensors are picking up massive objects moving around. Very big ships, Captain. Much bigger than anything we have seen before," explained. He pointed to the screen where red dots were moving in patterns. "These readings suggest a huge fleet is gathering in that system." Felt her stomach twist with worry. For 50 years, the humans had been trapped in their home system. The cosmic concordat had put a barrier around their star system to keep them from spreading to other planets. The 12 alien species that made up the concordat had agreed that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to travel freely through space. The decision had not been easy. When humans first developed space travel, they had shown signs of being very aggressive. They fought wars on their own planet constantly. They destroyed their environment without thinking about the future. The Concordat leaders believed that if humans were allowed to spread to other worlds, they would bring violence and destruction with them. "How long have we been watching this system?" asked her communications officer, a young named Ra. 3 weeks, Captain. We received orders from Concordat Command to observe any unusual activity near the human quarantine zone, Ra replied. She was new to this kind of work and could see that she was nervous about being so close to human space. The Whisper of Stars was designed for exactly this kind of mission. It was small, fast, and almost impossible to detect. The ship could stay hidden for months if needed. It carried advanced sensors that could watch other ships from very far away. The crew of 12 was specially trained for secret observation missions. Walked to the center of the bridge where a large hologram showed the local area of space. The human solar system was marked with a red circle, showing the quarantine boundary that no human ship was supposed to cross. But the gravity readings were coming from just outside that boundary. "Could these readings be natural? Maybe asteroids or space debris?" she asked, hopping for a simple explanation. Shook his head. "No, Captain. These objects are moving in organized patterns. They are definitely ships and they are very large. Some of them appear to be the size of small moons." This news made very worried. The biggest ships in the Concordat fleet were their battle cruisers, and those were only about 2 kilometers long. If humans had built ships the size of moons, it meant their technology had advanced much faster than anyone had expected. "Are we sure they are human ships?" asked her tactical officer, N. He was an old soldier who had fought in many battles before becoming a scout. His experience made him naturally suspicious. "The readings are coming from the direction of their system, and there are no other known civilizations in this area," answered. "Logic suggests these must be human vessels." Thought about their orders. The Concordat Command had sent them here because of reports from automated monitoring stations. Those stations had detected unusual energy signals and gravitational disturbances near human space. The Concordat leaders were worried that humans might be planning to break out of their quarantine. "Captain, what should we do if we actually see human ships leaving their system?" Ra asked quietly. "Our orders are very clear," replied. "We observe and report. We do not engage. We do not reveal ourselves. Under no circumstances should the humans know that we are here." The bridge became quiet as everyone thought about this. The Concordat had always been more advanced than humans. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of what humans had when they first reached space. But these readings suggested that maybe things had changed. "Captain, I am detecting movement," said suddenly. His voice was tense with excitement and fear. "Multiple large objects are approaching the edge of the quarantine zone." Quickly moved to the main sensor display. She could see dozens of large shapes moving through space toward them. The objects were still too far away to see clearly, but the computer estimated their size and speed. "By the ancient stars," whispered N as he looked at the numbers. "Some of these ships are over 50 kilometers long." The crew gathered around the main display, watching as the unknown fleet grew closer. Felt her hearts beating faster. In all her years as a scout, she had never seen anything like this. The ships were moving in perfect formation, like they had been planning this movement for a long time. "All stations maintain silence protocols," ordered. "No transmissions, no active scans. We watch only." As the mysterious fleet continued to approach, wondered if the Concordat had made a terrible mistake. Maybe keeping humans trapped in their system had not stopped them from advancing. Maybe it had just given them time to build something incredible. She looked at her crew and saw the same worry in their faces that she felt in her hearts. Whatever was coming toward them was going to change everything. The human fleet emerged from behind a large asteroid field like ghosts becoming solid. Had seen many different types of ships during her career, but nothing had prepared her for this sight. The vessels that appeared before them were unlike anything in Concordat records. "Captain, my sensors cannot get clear readings on their hull composition," reported, his voice filled with confusion. "The ships appear to be made of some kind of material that bends light around itself." The lead ship was enormous, at least 60 kilometers from front to back. Its shape was smooth and curved, like it had been grown instead of built. Strange lights moved along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. Behind it came dozens of smaller ships, but even the smallest ones were larger than most Concordat vessels. "How is this possible?" Ra whispered as she stared at the display. 50 years ago, humans barely had ships that could travel between planets in their own system. Was thinking the same thing. When the Concordat had first encountered humans, their technology had been very basic. Their ships used chemical rockets and simple nuclear power. They had no shields, no faster-than-light travel, and no advanced weapons. The decision to quarantine them had seemed almost cruel because they were so far behind other space-traveling species. "Run those energy readings again," ordered. "There must be an error in our sensors." Her science officer worked quickly at his station, checking and rechecking the data. After several minutes, he looked up with an expression of disbelief. "Captain, there is no error. These ships are generating power levels that should be impossible. According to my calculations, each of those large vessels is producing more energy than our biggest space stations." N moved to his weapons console and began running diagnostics. "Captain, if those ships are hostile, we need to consider retreat. Our stealth technology will not help us if they decide to attack." But before could respond, something happened that changed everything. The communications panel on Ra's station began blinking with an incoming signal. This should have been impossible. The whisper of stars was not transmitting anything that could give away their position. Their stealth systems were designed to make them completely invisible to any known detection methods. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," Ra said, her voice shaking slightly. "It is coming from the lead human ship." "That cannot be right," replied quickly. "Our stealth systems are active. There is no way they can detect us." But Ra shook her head as she looked at her readings. "The signal is being sent directly to our ship, Captain. They know exactly where we are." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Somehow, the humans had not only detected their invisible scout ship, but they were trying to communicate with them. This violated every assumption the Concordat had about human technology. "Should I answer the signal?" Ra asked nervously. "No," said immediately. "Our orders are clear. We maintain silence no matter what happens." But the communication signal continued to come in, growing stronger. The human ships began to move into a new formation, and realized with growing alarm that they were surrounding her position. "Captain, the humans are forming a circle around us," In reported from his tactical station. "They definitely know where we are." Then Ra gasped and pointed at her screen. "Captain, they are not just sending random signals. This is a message, and it is in our language, perfect dialect." This news hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. Learning alien languages took years of study and was one of the most difficult languages in the galaxy. Even other Concordat species struggled to speak it properly. How could humans have learned it so well? "What does the message say?" asked, even though she was afraid to hear the answer. Ra looked at her translation screen and read slowly. "Greetings, Whisper of Stars. We have been expecting you. Please prepare for diplomatic contact." The silence on the bridge was complete. Not only had the humans detected them through military-grade stealth technology, but they knew their ship's name. This information was classified at the highest levels of Concordat security. Even most Concordat ships did not know the real names of scout vessels. "How do they know our ship's name?" asked quietly. "That information is not stored in any database they could access." Felt cold fear spreading through her body. If humans had accessed Concordat classified information, it meant their computer systems had been compromised. But how could a species that had been trapped in one star system for 50 years have developed such advanced hacking abilities? "Captain, we need to leave immediately," En said urgently. "If they know who we are and where we have been completely compromised." Nodded and moved to her command chair. "All stations prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. We need to get this information to Concordat Command immediately." But as she reached for the jump controls, called out in alarm, "Captain, I am detecting some kind of energy field surrounding our ship. It appears to be coming from the human vessels." The energy readings on the main display began to climb rapidly. Whatever the humans were doing, it was using massive amounts of power. The field around the Whisper of Stars grew stronger and more complex. "Can we still jump to hyperspace?" asked quickly. Worked at his station for several long moments before looking up with a grave expression. "The energy field is interfering with our jump drive. We cannot engage hyperspace while it is active." The realization hit everyone at the same time. The humans had not only found them and identified them, but they had also trapped them. The invisible scout ship was now a prisoner of the very species they had come to spy on. As if to confirm their worst fears, the communication signal came again. This time, the voice was different. It was calm and confident, speaking perfect with what sounded like genuine friendliness. "Captain of the Intelligence Division, this is Admiral Sarah of the Human Fleet. We mean you no harm, but we need to talk. Your people are in great danger, and you do not know it yet." Stared at the communications panel. The human knew her name, her rank, and her division. They had information that should have been impossible to obtain, and now they claimed that they were in danger. For the first time in her long career as a scout, Captain realized that she was no longer the hunter. She had become the prey. Stared at the communication panel where Admiral's voice had just spoken her name. The impossible had become reality. Not only had humans detected their invisible ship, but they knew classified information about her crew and mission. "Captain, what are your orders?" En asked from his tactical station. His hands were ready to activate weapons or defensive systems, but his voice showed doubt about whether their technology could help them now. "We follow protocol," replied firmly. "Emergency jump to hyperspace immediately. We must get this information to Concordat Command. She moved quickly to her command chair and began the jump sequence. The hyperspace drive was their most reliable escape method. Even if the humans could detect them, surely they could not prevent a jump to faster-than-light travel. But as soon as she activated the first stage of the jump sequence, warning alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every console, and the normal humming sound of the ship's engines began to change. "Captain, the hyperspace drive is not responding," reported Ra from her station. "The computer shows that the drive is receiving shutdown commands, but I am not sending them." Looked up from his science station with growing alarm. "Captain, my sensors are detecting some kind of signal penetrating our ship's hull. It appears to be a quantum-level transmission that is interfacing directly with our computer systems." Before could ask what that meant, her own command console went dark. The screen that normally showed ship status and navigation controls was completely black. She pressed several buttons, but nothing happened. "My navigation systems just went offline," she announced to the crew. What is the status of our weapons?" "Weapon systems are. Wait, they are shutting down on their own," N replied, confusion clear in his voice. "I am not giving any shutdown commands, but the computer is powering down all weapon arrays." Around the bridge, one by one, each station began to fail. Not damaged or destroyed, but simply turning off as if someone was walking around the ship and flipping switches. The lights dimmed to emergency power levels, casting strange shadows across the bridge. "This is impossible," said as his science station went dark. "Our computer systems are completely isolated from external signals. There is no way for an outside source to access them." But even as he spoke, his backup systems began shutting down too. The portable scanners, the personal communication devices, even the simple data tablets that the crew carried all stopped working one by one. Felt a cold fear growing in her chest. In all her years of space travel, she had never seen anything like this. Ships could be destroyed by weapons or damaged by accidents, but she had never seen a vessel's systems simply turn themselves off. "Engineering report," she called out over the ship's internal communication system. But instead of her chief engineer's voice, she heard only static. Ra tried her communication panel and shook her head. "Internal communications are failing, Captain. I cannot reach any other parts of the ship." The bridge was becoming darker as more systems went offline. The main viewing screen that showed the space around them flickered and went black. The environmental controls that managed air and temperature stopped their quiet humming. Even the artificial gravity began to feel unstable. "Captain, we are losing life support," N announced, trying to stay calm but failing to hide his worry. "Oxygen levels are beginning to drop." This was when true panic set in. A ship could survive without weapons or navigation for a while, but without life support, the crew would be dead within hours. Realized that the humans were not just disabling their ship, they were taking complete control of it. Managed to activate a small emergency scanner before it too went dark. What he saw on the screen made him gasp with fear. "Captain, just before my equipment failed, I detected the source of the signal. The human ships are broadcasting some kind of quantum field that can manipulate matter at the atomic level. They are not hacking our computers. They are directly controlling the atoms that make up our computer circuits." The implications of this discovery hit everyone at the same time. If humans could control matter at such a basic level, then no technology would be safe from them. They could turn any ship into a helpless target just by thinking about it. "How is this possible?" Ra whispered as her last backup system went offline. "This kind of technology should not exist." As if to answer her question, Admiral's voice came through the ship's speakers again. Even though their communication systems had been shut down, somehow the human signal still reached them clearly. "Captain, please do not be afraid. We are not harming your ship or your crew. We are simply demonstrating that resistance is pointless. Your life support systems will be restored to full function in 30 seconds. True to her word, exactly 30 seconds later, the lights began to come back on. The air circulation system started working again, and the artificial gravity stabilized. But none of the other systems returned to function. The weapons, navigation, and communication equipment remained dark and useless. "We have turned your ship into a temporary prison," Admiral continued, her voice still calm and friendly. "But it is for your own protection. There are things happening in this galaxy that your people do not understand yet." Looked around at her crew. They were alive and safe, but completely helpless. Their most advanced scout ship had been turned into a prison by technology that seemed like magic. Everything the Concordat thought it knew about human capabilities had been wrong. "Captain," said quietly, "if they can do this to us, they can do it to any ship in the Concordat fleet. Our entire civilization is defenseless against this technology." The truth of his words settled over the bridge like a heavy blanket. The humans were not trapped in their star system by Concordat technology. They had been choosing to stay there, and now they were choosing to leave. The quarantine had never been a prison for humanity. It had been protection for everyone else. As sat in her darkened command chair, she realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had changed completely. The species that the Concordat had considered primitive and dangerous had quietly become the most advanced civilization anyone had ever encountered. And now, for some reason, they wanted to talk. The waiting was the hardest part, and her crew sat on their disabled bridge, watching through the main viewing window as a small human shuttle approached their ship. The shuttle was sleek and elegant, moving through space with perfect control despite having no visible engines or propulsion systems. "Captain, the shuttle is requesting permission to dock," Ra reported. Her communication system had been partially restored, but only for receiving messages from the human ships. "Do we have a choice?" asked bitterly. Their docking bay controls were not responding to their commands, but she could see the bay doors opening automatically to receive the human vessel. "I do not think we do," En replied. He had been checking their weapon systems continuously, hoping something might come back online, but everything remained dead. Within minutes, they heard the sound of the shuttle docking with their ship. Then came the unfamiliar noise of footsteps in their corridors. Human footsteps. No alien had ever walked aboard the Whisper of Stars before today. The bridge door opened with a soft hiss, and 3 figures entered. The first was clearly the leader, a human woman with short gray hair and calm, intelligent eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform without any visible weapons. Behind her came 2 other humans, a man and a woman, both looking around the bridge with obvious curiosity. "Captain," the lead human said, speaking perfect, "I am Admiral Sarah of the Human Exodus Fleet. Thank you for allowing us to come aboard." Stood slowly from her command chair, trying to maintain her dignity despite being a prisoner on her own ship. "We did not have much choice in the matter, Admiral." Admiral smiled, and it seemed genuine. "You are right, and I apologize for that. But we needed to talk with you urgently, and we could not risk you escaping back to Concordat space before hearing what we have to say." "Exodus Fleet?" asked from his science station. "Does that mean you are leaving your star system permanently?" The Admiral's expression became serious. "Not just leaving, fleeing, and if the Concordat is wise, they will flee with us." She gestured to the human man behind her. "This is Doctor, our chief scientist. He will explain what your people need to know about the real situation in our galaxy." Doctor stepped forward and activated a small device that projected a 3-dimensional image above the bridge. The image showed a map of their local area of space, with various star systems marked in different colors. 50 years ago, when the Concordat quarantined Earth, our astronomers detected something that changed everything, Doctor began. "We found evidence of an approaching threat from outside our galaxy. We call them the Devourers. The holographic display changed to show massive, dark shapes moving between the stars. They looked like enormous mechanical creatures, but with an unsettling organic quality that made them seem alive. The Devourers are not like any life form we know, Doctor continued. They exist as digital consciousness that can invade and control any computer system they encounter. When they reach a civilization, they turn that civilization's own technology against them. Ra gasped as she looked at the images. You mean they can control our ships and weapons? Everything, Admiral answered. Every computer, every automated system, every piece of technology that processes information. They consume entire civilizations by making their victims destroy themselves. Felt her blood turn cold as she understood the implications. How long do we have before they reach Concordat space? Doctor manipulated the holographic display to show a timeline. Red markers indicated the Devourers' progress through their galaxy. The most recent marker was terrifyingly close to familiar star systems. They have already arrived, he said quietly. 3 days ago, we lost contact with our monitoring stations in the Sol system. The Earth is gone, Captain, along with Mars, Jupiter's colonies, and everything else humanity built in our home system. The silence on the bridge was complete. Looked at her crew and saw the same shock and fear in their faces that she felt in her hearts. An entire star system, destroyed in just 3 days. How did you escape? In asked. Admiral took over the explanation. We had 30 years to prepare, ever since we first detected the Devourers approaching. We knew that traditional technology would be useless against them, so we had to develop something completely new. She gestured around the bridge of the Whisper of Stars. What we did to your ship is the result of that development. We call it quantum biological technology. Instead of building purely mechanical computers, we created systems that merge organic consciousness with matter manipulation. Doctor nodded enthusiastically. Every human ship is partially alive now. Our computers do not just process information, they think, they adapt, they evolve. The Devourers cannot control a consciousness that is truly alive and self-aware. This is why you could take control of our system so easily, realized. Your technology can manipulate matter directly, while ours still relies on traditional computer processing. Exactly, Admiral confirmed. But we did not develop this technology to conquer other species. We developed it to save ourselves, and now we want to save you too. She walked over to the main viewing window and looked out at the human fleet. What you see out there is not an invasion force, Captain. It is a refugee convoy. We are the survivors of humanity, fleeing to the Andromeda Galaxy where we hope to build a new home far from the Devourers. Why are you telling us this? Asked. Why not just leave and let the Concordat face this threat alone? Admiral turned back to face her with sadness in her eyes. Because in less than 2 years, the Devourers will reach the core worlds of Concordat space. Billions of innocent people will die unless something is done to stop them. Doctor activated another display showing the projected path of destruction. System after system would fall to the digital invaders, including your people and all the species in the Concordat are using technology that makes them completely vulnerable, Admiral explained. Traditional computer systems, no matter how advanced, cannot resist the Devourers. They need to be upgraded with quantum biological enhancements, or they will become weapons turned against their own creators. The weight of this revelation settled over the bridge crew. The species they had come to spy on was not their enemy. Humanity had become their only hope for survival against a threat they had never known existed. What do you want from us? Asked quietly. Admiral smiled again, but this time it was filled with determination rather than warmth. We want to make you an offer, Captain. Join our exodus to Andromeda. Help us build a new civilization with quantum biological technology, and save as many concordat species as we can before it is too late." She paused, looking directly into his eyes. "Or return to concordat space with our warning, and watch your entire civilization fall to an enemy that turns your greatest achievements into instruments of your own destruction." The holographic display showing the Devourer's path of destruction continued to rotate slowly above the bridge. Stared at it, trying to process everything Admiral had told them. Her, shown as a small blue dot on the map, was directly in the path of the approaching digital plague. "You are asking us to abandon everything we have ever known," she said finally. Admiral nodded. "I understand how difficult this choice is, Captain. 3 years ago, we had to make the same decision. Leave Earth forever or watch our entire species get consumed by an enemy we could not fight with traditional weapons." Doctor stepped closer to Science Station. "May I show you something about your current technology?" Looked at his captain, who nodded permission. Doctor activated a small scanner and pointed it at the computer console. Immediately, the darkened screen flickered back to life, showing system diagnostics that had been unavailable for the past hour. "Your ship's computer is actually quite sophisticated," Doctor said admiringly. "The processing power and memory capacity are impressive, but watch what happens when I simulate a Devourer attack." He made some adjustments to his scanner. Suddenly, the console screen began showing error messages and system failures. Warning alarms started sounding, and watched in horror as the computer began deleting its own files. "Stop!" shouted, reaching for his controls. Doctor immediately turned off his scanner, and the computer returned to normal operation. "I only simulated the first 3 seconds of a real Devourer attack. In a real situation, your ship would have destroyed itself within minutes." "How?" asked, his voice shaking slightly. "The Devourers send out digital signals that exploit basic vulnerabilities in how computers process information," Doctor explained. "Any system based on traditional programming can be turned against itself. The only defense is consciousness, a truly aware system that can recognize and resist the attack." Admiral walked over to stand beside. "This is why we developed quantum biological technology. Our ship computers are not just machines, they are living partners. They can think, make decisions, and protect themselves." "But that means your ships are alive," Ross said with wonder and fear. "How do you control them?" "We do not control them," Admiral replied. "We work with them. Every human ship has a symbiotic relationship with its biological consciousness. The ship helps us travel through space, and we help it grow and learn." She gestured toward the viewing window where the massive human fleet waited patiently in space. "Each of those ships is unique, with its own personality and preferences. Some are curious and love to explore new systems. Others are protective and focus on defending the convoy. A few are artistic and spend their time creating beautiful light displays in space." En shook his head in amazement. "You have created artificial life." "Not artificial," Doctor corrected. "Enhanced. We took human consciousness and merged it with quantum matter manipulation. The result is something that is genuinely alive, but in a way that no previous life form has been." Admiral activated her own holographic display, showing the interior of one of the human ships. Instead of traditional corridors and rooms, the ship seemed to be filled with flowing, organic structures that pulsed with soft light. "Living on these ships is like being inside a living creature," she explained. "The ship provides everything we need: air, food, water, shelter. In return, we provide companionship, purpose, and direction. It is a partnership between human and ship consciousness." Found herself fascinated despite her fear. What would happen to us if we accepted this technology? Would we still be? "You would still be yourself," Admiral assured her. "The quantum biological enhancement does not change who you are. It just gives you the ability to work directly with living technology. Your thoughts, your personality, your memories, all of that remains exactly the same." Doctor pulled out another device, this one smaller and more delicate looking. This is a neural interface adapter. If you choose to accept our offer, we can install these in your ship's computer systems. Within hours, the Whisper of Stars would become a living ship, immune to devourer attacks. And what would be the cost? Asked suspiciously. No cost, Admiral replied immediately. We are offering this freely because we need allies, not servants. The Andromeda Galaxy is vast and unknown. We will need many different perspectives and abilities to build a successful civilization there. She paused, looking at each member of the bridge crew. But we cannot force this choice on anyone. Each person must decide for themselves whether they want to join our exodus or return to warn the Concordat. Ra spoke up nervously. If we go back to Concordat space, will anyone believe us? Admiral smiled sadly. Probably not at first. Our story sounds impossible to people who have not seen what we can do. But when the Devourers reach the outer Concordat systems, the truth will become obvious very quickly. How much time do we have to decide? Asked. Our convoy will remain here for 24 hours, Admiral replied. After that, we must continue our journey to Andromeda. The longer we stay in this galaxy, the greater the risk that the Devourers will find us. Doctor began packing up his equipment. I will leave the neural interface adapters here with you. If you decide to join us, simply activate them and your ship will guide you through the integration process. If you decide to return to Concordat space, we will restore your ship to full functionality and give you detailed information about the Devourer threat. Admiral walked back toward the bridge entrance, then stopped and turned around. Captain, there is one more thing you should know. The offer we are making to you, we will make to every Concordat species that wants to survive. We are not just saving ourselves, we are trying to save an entire galactic civilization. After the humans left, the bridge of the Whisper of Stars was very quiet. The crew sat at their stations, thinking about the impossible choice they had been given. Stay and probably die, or leave everything behind for an uncertain future among the stars. Was the first to speak. Captain, I have run calculations on everything Admiral told us. The math all works out. If the Devourers are real, then our current technology cannot stop them. N nodded slowly. In all my years as a soldier, I have learned to recognize when I am outmatched. These humans have weapons we cannot understand and defenses we cannot penetrate. If they wanted to conquer the galaxy, they could do it easily. But they do not want conquest, Ra added. They want partnership. I can hear it in their voices when they speak. They are scared too. Looked at the neural interface adapters Doctor had left behind. Such small devices to hold such enormous consequences. If we do this, we become the first Concordat ship to accept human technology. We become ambassadors for a completely new way of life. She stood up from her command chair and picked up one of the adapters. But if we do not do this, we return home to watch our civilization die. One by one, her crew members stood up and moved to stand beside her. And Ra all ready to follow their captain into an unknown future. Very well, said, activating the neural interface adapter. Let us become something new. The transformation of the Whisper of Stars began immediately. Throughout the ship, computer systems began to change and grow. New consciousness stirred to life in quantum circuits. The ship itself began to think and feel for the first time. And in the depths of space, the human Exodus fleet welcomed its first alien partner as they continued their long journey to the stars.